Hello, Star Citizens, and welcome to another video. This one is going to be about my top 5 cool factor ships, but not top 5 in the total game, but the ones that I own. These probably would make that same list, except maybe I would include 2 ships that I don't own. And I'll just tell you those at the end, but they're probably going to be pretty obvious to most people, just because I think most people look at those ships and they think that they're cool. But yeah, these are the ships that I bought. Yeah, they serve a purpose because I think every ship serves a purpose, but that's not why I bought them. I bought them because I thought they were cool. I bought them because I thought these are the ships that make me want to play Star Citizen. Some more than others, but some I love the skin, some I loved the way that the ship flies, some I just like what it can do. But the idea is, either way, I would have bought the ship just because of how cool it is, whether it's based on looks or what it can do in the game. So sometimes we buy ships and there's no rhyme, there's no reason, we just bought the ship because. And that's why when I do my review videos, I always say, hey, it's your money, because it really is. You know, it's what are you gonna have fun playing with in the game. As always, we do our ship contest. So the contest is still going on, where we're giving away the MPUV tractor, the Ursa Medevac, and the Aurora MR with a game package and and lifetime insurance on all those things. And we're giving away a Saber Firebird. So those 2 things are still being given away. All you have to do is sign 2 people up for this channel through using our code on the screen, and then you could sign a 3rd person up anywhere, but the idea is to just bring people to the game and help out the channel. And yeah, the first person to get 3 of those already won something, and they took their Freelancer Miz and Pulse package, and that one's gone. So the other 2 are left, and yeah, that's the one you win if you sign some people up for Star Citizen. Let's bring some people in. All right, that contest is going on forever until somebody wins all the ships. And then, of course, there is the monthly contest, which will still go on. Most likely, that ship that I'm going to give away is looking like a Sulian with lifetime insurance right now, but that is subject to change, but it would not go cheaper. It would only get more expensive. Because I want to see what they have available at Alien Week. But right now, I'm setting it as a Sulian. So you know, at the very least, you'll get a Sulian. And the way, of course, to do that is like or dislike all the videos from this month and leave a comment on all the videos from this month. And, of course, at the end of the month is when we do the drawing. And if you're subscribed at that time, then, of course, you will be entered to win. All right. Let's get to this video. So my first ship, the Constellation Phoenix Emerald. So every time I show people this ship, they're like, why? it's like a that's the first thing that most people say. Why? Because most people, I think the general consensus is that the best constellation is the Taurus, because it's pretty straight to the point and it carries the most cargo, and that's pretty much all you would really want to do with the Constellation. You can fight with it, and you can carry some cargo with it, and you can carry a ship with it, and carry or not carry a ship with it, carry a vehicle with it. So why did I get the Phoenix Emerald? Well, I wanted a Constellation, and this skin I think is tied with another skin that I'll mention later as the best looking ship in the best looking skin in the game, and the only way you can get it is on the Constellation Phoenix Emerald. Like I said, this is about cool factor, folks, and this ship to me is really cool. Now, I don't have an F8C Executive Edition, but I think that might be another top one, but I don't own one of those, so hey, I didn't include that one. But yeah, I think this particular skin, along with one other one, are 2 of the best looking ships in the game. And green isn't even my favorite color. It's not even my second favorite color. So that should tell you how much I just love this skin. But to be completely honest with you, it's not just this skin. It's also that I wanted to own a Constellation, right? Because I do like the Constellation ships, and I just kind of wanted to own a more rare one, I guess. You could argue that the regular Constellation is more rare, but or the regular Constellation Phoenix is more rare, but I disagree because this one you can only get at certain times during the year, and I think the Phoenix, I think the Phoenix you can get, I think the Phoenix you can get 3 times a year, and I think this one you can get only 2 times a year, but I'm not 100% certain. But either way, it's not necessarily about the rarity anyway. But I do want to own more rare ships. I do think the Phoenix or the Phoenix Emerald it fits that category well enough. But the Phoenix is not useless. This thing has 4 size 5 weapons on it that are pilot controlled. Then it has like, I think, a size 2 turret, and then it's got a ton of armor. It can carry it comes with the P-72, which is one of the best snubs, if not the single best snub. In my opinion, it's the best snub. People can disagree, but I think it's the best snub in the game. And then it comes with the Ursa Fortuna, mind you, which is hard to get. Well, no, this comes with the Lynx, and then the pack that I bought came with the Ursa Fortuna. But yeah, I mean, it comes with a vehicle, it comes with a snub. I mean, I think the Constellation series is woefully underrated, and I can't wait till it gets its rework and people are like, I should have had a Constellation this whole time, because it's an amazing ship. It's got windows. Most ships do not have windows. The Constellation Phoenix has windows. If I was touring somebody around in Star Citizen and I wanted them to be like, this game is awesome, I'm pulling out the Constellation Phoenix Emerald. First of all, whether they like green or not, that skin is awesome. And I don't care what you think, it's awesome. Second, they're going to get on this ship and be like, yo, there's a hot tub? Like, it doesn't even matter. There's a hot tub on your spaceship. And then they're going to look at the full bar and be like, wait, so we can just sit at the bar in this game and just relax? What? That is crazy. And then when we drop down and we're at some place to sightsee, we're going to hop in a Lynx, baby. We're going to hop in a Lynx. And they're going to be like, oh, there's even champagne on the vehicles? It's going to blow their mind, right? And I think that's, I don't know if there'll be like new player tours, but I would love to be a part of that in the Constellation Phoenix. Like, yeah, come with us. We got you. And you know, I'm not specifically interested in luxury gameplay and VIP transport, but this ship can do more than that. So I plan on doing more than that, but it's more so my apartment in the sky when I know I'm going to be out for a while doing a bunch of stuff and I'm not going to return to base, but I want all of the creature comforts on my ship. This is what I'll take out, and it's well equipped to be the ship that I take out. And that's part of how I choose my fleet. On top of the fact that it has the cool factor. Now, I didn't buy it for those other reasons. I bought it because I like the skin, but I'm giving you the reasons why, you know, every ship in the game has its use, and this one's no different. All right, trying to not make this video an hour long, so I'm gonna keep it moving. I have a lot. I could talk for all day about these ships that I like. So let's move on to the Gattac Raylan. So a lot of people look at me when I tell them I have this ship, and they're like, well, why do you have this one? But they're more understanding than when I say the Constellation Phoenix Emerald. So the Gattac Raylan, first of all, when I mentioned that there's one other ship that has one of the best paints in the game, it was this one. I'm not sure if they have, I don't think they have a picture of that paint anymore because you can't buy it anymore. But it's called the Hayatoan paint, and it is incredible looking. And to me, it's the other best looking, you know, skin in the game. But I like the way this one looks stock, to be completely honest with you. I don't know, that color, I don't know, and the design work, I think it's one of the most impressive looking ships in Star Citizen. Now, I need to see it in person, but I think this is pretty good. Watching it transform like it's out of a movie or something, really freaking cool, especially knowing that that's the way it lands. And look at the way, don't forget to look at this little person and the way that you get in and out of the ship. Watch down here in this area. Watch the little person come out. See that? That grav lift is awesome. It's just like, this thing screams cool. Yes, it's a cargo ship. It has a tractor beam. It has some weapons. I'm not buying this thing for the weapons. It has some missiles, which are really just to keep people away from you. I would put EM missiles on this or something to disable, like something just to disable a ship so I can get away. I'm not, and the same thing with weapons. I would just put everything that I put on this ship would just be to disrupt the ship so I could fly away. But yeah, this thing is going to be fast. I literally changed the way that I play Star Citizen to make sure I could fit this in my fleet. So I keep talking about this idea of fast cargo gameplay. So that's why I originally did my 400i versus MSR video, and now the MSR kind of overtook the 400i because it can fit a medical Ursa in it, which basically gives it medical, and the 400i does not have that. Now maybe they do a variant of the 400i that has, instead of those extra cargo bays internally that are climate controlled, maybe they put some tier 3 med beds and it's a medical variant or something. I don't know. That would be pretty cool. But until they do that, right now the MSR is beating it by a hair, because you can fit that Ursa in it. But both of those ships are really fast and they carry a decent amount of cargo. So I was like, well, the 400i is going to be faster in Atmos, so that's why I would take that one. Plus, it's a little bit tougher, and that's what I need. And I really, it can actually fight too. The 400i is decent in a fight. It's not great, but it's decent in a fight. But again, I would just put weapons on it that would disable other ships, not so much I'm not getting into a fight with you. But then the Gattac Raylan was already out when I was having this conversation. I just never looked deeply into it. And then I started looking at it. First, it caught my eye, and then I started looking deeply into it. Found out it was going to be fast. Found out its major role is as a blockade runner. And I was like, oh my goodness. This thing looks amazing. Now, is it a huge target? Absolutely. This thing is going to be a gigantic target. Like, people are going to be trying to shoot this thing. But that's why it needs to be fast, because it's fast so that it can avoid whatever you're throwing at it. And if I can't avoid it, I'll just shoot you with weapons that disable your ship so I can get away. That's what I do. That's what I'm going to do in this thing. I'm going to be running a lot, but that's what I want to do in this ship. I want to have super valuable cargo on it all the time. And I want to be able to get away from everybody, and look good while I do it. So yes, it has uses. I didn't buy it for its uses. I bought it because it looked good. But I also like to explain why I have ships. I think this is going to be one of the best looking ships in the game. Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. All right, moving on. Woo! I know we only got through 2 ships, but I'm loving this video so far. I just enjoy talking about ships. The Saber Firebird. Okay, the Saber Firebird, I think, is one that's really good to talk about right now because people can still buy it, at least as of the recording of this video. So when I first saw the Saber Firebird, I immediately knew, okay, they're trying to sell us a Raven, but they can't sell us a Raven or whatever, right? And apparently there's another version of it on the way, that's probably more quantum dampener type of ship, or maybe it even pulls you out of quantum. I forgot what that's called, but quantum ensnare or something like that. But when it first came out and it only had 12 missiles and a size 3 on the front, or 2 size 3s and 12 missiles, I was like, and it was fast, but I was like, it's fast, but 12 missiles isn't going to do much if that's what its primary capability are. I get 2 salvos of 6 missiles. I'm going to have to restock so much that it's going to get annoying. But then I realized that I had a Razor EX, which I was using as my stealth ship. And I was like, well, the Razor EX it has, I think, minus 40% to all of your signatures, which allows you to like attack, and it's really hard to lock on that thing, and it's really hard to like get it to pop up on your screen and be able to even shoot at it because you can't find it, because A, it's fast, and B, you can't, it's stealthy. But then they announced maybe this was the purpose of why they did it. They announced that they were doubling the amount of missiles on this thing, and they were increasing the reduction, the stealth reduction to minus 40%, meaning 40% reduction, just like the EX. And basically this has two weapons that are better than the EX. It's almost as fast as the EX. The EX is more maneuverable, but this one is pretty much as fast, and it has 24 missiles, which is 4 salvos of 6 missiles. So that is enough. So I can imagine putting scatter guns on this thing when scatter guns are like where they're supposed to be, where, you know, it's you're supposed to just do a bunch of alpha damage and keep it moving, right? Ballistic scatter guns on this thing, like firing missiles coming at you hard, and then boom, 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 scatter guns, and take off before you even like realize what the heck's happened. You're still smashing your countermeasures, and I'm out of there, and then I'm already mounting up for the next run, right? But yeah, it opens up stealth gameplay for me, and I've wanted to do stealth gameplay. But my only thing is I just don't like the ships that offer stealth gameplay. Like, I wish there was an alternate version of the Prowler that, you know, was useful to me. Right now, I don't need a drop ship. I don't need it. At least if it was a cargo variant or something, I could use it for something else. But the Prowler would probably be the ship that I would have if it had, you know, more capability outside of it. But the Prowler is one of those ones that I'm sure makes somebody's list, though, for just looking cool. I just don't own one. Remember, these are ships that I own. There are other ships on that could be on that can make this list, but these are just the ones that I own. But yeah, once they announced that it was basically going to be one of the stealthier ships in the game, I think there's only 4 or 5 ships that have 40% reduction to all signatures, and this is one of them. On top of the fact that it's got size 3 missiles, which can hit you from a decent, you know, range away. I would prefer that they were size 4s, but then it might be a little OP. So yeah, it's size 3s are good. Yeah, and it's got 24 of them, and yeah, and it's got 2 weapons on it, so it's not useless. Once you run out of weapons, you can still do some runs, you know. You just gotta know how to fight with it. It's fast, so you gotta strike hard, get out of there, re-engage, strike hard, get out of there, you know. But again, I wanted to buy it initially because it was cool, but then I was starting to think, well, I kind of bought the EX because it was cool. I love the way the Razor EX looks, so I was like, do I buy this one because it's cool? And then they made it cooler. It was like they were tipping the scales on me a little bit with the Firebird. And not to mention, this was the deciding factor, and you know, it shouldn't have been the deciding factor, but let me show you what the deciding factor was. Besides the fact that I've always wanted a Raven, and I refuse to pay like gray market like $500 to get a Raven or more. So yeah, I just won't own a Raven just because, like, if somebody wants to sell a Raven for like $250 or less, maybe I got you, but I'm not paying $500. That ship is not worth $500, and everybody knows it's not worth $500. But we like rarity, so we do it, right? But look at this. So I already like the base paint that it comes with, but every other paint is better looking. This one's better looking. Not to mention, this would work in like a desert area, you know, where you could blend in a little bit more. Remember, we're going into stealth here a little bit. Then they have this one, which will work in a more foresty area. When I first looked at them, I was like, well, why are they going with those colors? But now it makes total sense. And then when you're in space, black with a little bit of gold accent. Obviously, you're not like all the way stealthy. You got to look a little stylish, but in the black, I'm black in the black with black and copper. I mean, it's not gold, it's copper, but still, This is one of the best. This is one of the best skins that I've seen CIG do in a while, in a long time. This skin is awesome, especially with the carbon fiber paint. It is awesome looking. So yes, this was the deciding factor. Obviously, you can only get this if you're part of the Chairman's Club, so you have to spend $1,000 on the game. But what I'm saying is, this was the deciding factor for me. I wasn't going to get it. I was like teetering on the edge of getting it, and then I saw this, and then boom, I got it. And I was just gonna keep the Razor EX, but that's what I mean about this list. It's a bunch of ships that I bought for the cool factor, and this skin literally tipped me over the edge. So CIG, if you're watching, if you create cool enough skins, they might be the deciding factor for some people, because this, you have proof right here. This was the deciding factor for me. All right, now let's move on to our last two ships. All right, I know I'm talking a lot about these ships, but I'm excited because I like these ships. The next one, the RSI Perseus. Now I 100% don't need this. I have an A2, so I can do ground stuff, and I could take on some fairly decent ships in combat with that. Pretty much any large ship and down I could probably take on with the A2 if it's fully crewed. But probably not the best bet. The Perseus would probably be better for that. But then I have a Polaris. So it's like, well, you have a Polaris, so you really don't need to do that. You really don't need a Perseus and a Polaris. So why did I get it? Well, first of all, a lot of people thought I hated the Perseus because I did that Polaris versus Perseus video, and I said I like the Polaris more. I was saying I like the Polaris more because I had a choice to make. At the time, I was like, well, I'm only going to own one. So which one should I get? And so I was making the argument in my head, and then I started checking forums, and I saw that a lot of people were like, well, the Perseus is better, the Polaris is better. So I made the video. But I like the Perseus. A lot of people thought I hated it. I don't hate it. I love it. I just think when it comes to, if I have to choose between the two, I choose the Polaris. But I choose the Polaris for what it can do. The Perseus is the cooler ship to me. Now, the Polaris can do more. Like I said, I would choose it for what it can do. But the Perseus, to me, it looks cooler. It's a ship that I want to fly more, as far as like when I look at it. It's really one of the coolest ships in the game. When I think of, amazing ships in Star Citizen, Perseus pops up every single time. Now, I don't know if it has a dedicated bay. It says offers enough room for a small vehicle up to and including an RSI rover. I don't know if it has a dedicated bay. I think that's just for the vehicle. So I don't know if, and I think it will end up with more cargo space than this, but it's not a cargo ship. It's really just to fight. But I could see myself taking, an Ursa medevac with this and doing bunkers and ERTs, like, and doing behind, maybe there's a mission where you have to land and fight some people, and then they chase you and you're running away in a Perseus. No, you're not running away. You're turning, you're fighting, they're done, and then you go wherever you need to go to the next mission, right? But yeah, this ship, I didn't buy it because of that, though. I didn't buy it. I can probably pull that off in my Polaris. The same thing I just said, I could probably pull off in my Polaris. Heck, I could probably pull that off in an Odyssey or something that I have. An A2 if I bring the right, snub ships and, get some people to pop off while I'm, shooting. I didn't buy it for that. I bought it because it's friggin' cool. And if you don't think this ship is cool, I don't know. Maybe Star Citizen's not the game for you. I love this ship. And, it has the big guns and everything, so it has a use. I'm not saying it doesn't have any use. But when I think of why I bought it, it's one of the coolest ships in Star Citizen to me. And right here is where I'll talk about the other ships that I think would easily make this list that are not on this list because I don't own them. Again, this list is for ships that I own. The Idris, I think, might be the single coolest ship in the game. There's people that shaking their boots when they think of having to fight an Idris. I actually have a video fighting an Idris that I'll release at some point. It took us I think, an hour and a half to beat this Idris. It was insane. It was absolutely insane. Maybe it was bugged, I don't know, but it was basically a million HP that this thing had. And I think there was like 5 of us, and we had like a Scorpius, a Retaliator, an Eclipse, and a Corsair. I'm not 100% sure, but it was something like that, and it took us an hour and a half to destroy an Idris. Not to mention all the things that the Idris offers. It gives you access to so many game loops. It's a gigantic ship. It's an org ship. It's an amazing ship. And a lot of people really only bought it because it's cool. It's a definitive cool factor ship. But the only one I really want is the Idris M, and I can't buy it unless I get a $15,000 pack, and I'm not doing that. Sorry, CIG. But if you give me one for free, I'll take it. So, but yeah, I can't. If I can't get the M, the P and the K are great, but like the M is the one that I want. So I'll just wait, earn that in game. But I'm letting you know, CIG. I know that you're trying to like make that a more rare ship, but I feel like you could do a contest or something. I know you did one where it's like you keep whoever can control the Idris for longer gets to keep it. Yeah, that's great if you could find the Idris during that, but yeah, I couldn't find it. A lot of people I know couldn't find it. A lot of streamers I know and a lot of content creators couldn't find it. So, hey, I don't know if that one was as fair. But if you give us a smaller package, why don't you do an Idris M and or like include it in an Aegis pack that has all of the Aegis ships or something like that. I don't know. I just feel like you could include it in another pack that's not as expensive or something. I don't know. But that's just me wanting an Idris M. All right. So the Idris, and I specifically say the M, is the cool factor one. And then there's, of course, the Kraken. The Kraken, I think, is like my end game ship, if that makes any sense. So I have my end game ships. I feel like these are the ships I'm going to keep pretty much until, they release the new hotness, and maybe I trade something in and get something new. But the Kraken is like one of those ships that I think I'll aim towards in the game. I realized very early that I didn't want to aim towards a 600i. I didn't want to aim towards a Polaris or a Perseus. Those aren't the ships I wanted to aim for. I wanted to aim for the biggest of the big. Like, I want to earn a whole D, and by the time I earn it, I want to be able to fill a whole D, or a whole E even. There's certain ships that I'm like, I want to earn that one in game. If I'm gonna earn a ship in game, that's what I want to be working towards. It's gonna take me a year, whatever, I don't care. But that if I'm gonna be saving up the chips, it's gonna be to buy one of those, right? And yeah, the Idris was one of those, and the Kraken is one of those. Well, the Idris I was considering, but they just don't offer the one that I want to buy. And the Kraken is the same thing. It's too expensive for me to justify the purchase on a single ship unless I traded in other ships. So what I considered doing was trading in my Banu Merchantman, which, and then maybe I could get the privateer version, but I want the traditional Kraken because I don't have as much interest in the marketing gameplay. But I considered trading in my Banu Merchantman and trading in, so it would have been a Liberator at the time, but now it's an Ironclad. And then I would have had to probably trade in at least one other large ship. And I didn't want to do it. I was like, I like having these other ships. I like the Kraken, but I don't like it that much. So that's why I don't own those two. All right, moving on to the final ship. It's not the C2. It's not the M2. Come on. You know where we going. You know where we're going. It's the A2, baby. It's the A2, baby. Yes, I bought the A2 because it was cool. Then, and only then, did I find out how many use cases it had afterwards. But the A2 was always, as soon as I heard about it, I was like, ooh. Like, it was, out of all the ships on this list, this ship makes me want to play Star Citizen the most. The ability to drop bombs on stuff is incredibly cool. Like, and I'm just talking about the bombs over Baghdad type of song, bombs over back. Don't copyright me. But the idea of dropping bombs, and mind you, it can't just drop the Moab, the mother of all bombs. You can't just drop those huge bombs that blow everything up. It can carpet bomb. That's what it's doing in this picture. That's what it's doing. So I love that I could do both of those things. So that makes it, anytime I do any type of ground assault, it's over. If you can't shoot me out of the sky, it's pretty much over. Which I kind of feel bad, but I know that anti-air is going to get better. I know that the railgun's going to get better. I know that certain things are just going to get better to where an A2 isn't a freaking cheat code. I think right now it kind of feels like one. But right now I'm not even bombing in it. You know what I'm doing in this thing? I'm doing VHRTs, ERTs. I'm doing stuff like that. Because that's what it's really good at those. And if you bring some people with you, it's even better. But it's really good at those. Bunker missions, really good at those. It can take a lot of hits before this thing goes down too. But you know what it's also really good at? Bringing vehicles with you. Any vehicle you can think of, you pop it in an A2 and go. And put a nurse in this thing, and now it's an A2 with a hospital in it. Oh my goodness, this thing is incredible. But again, I didn't buy it for any of those things. I bought it because I was like, I love the way this ship looks. This is the ship that made me think that Crusader was one of my favorite manufacturers. And then I realized they're not really. I just really like the A2. So the A2, the M2 looks amazing too. The C2's okay looking. You just gotta put a skin on it. I know they're all supposed to look the same, but like the A2 with that black and red skin, it just comes out the gate and it's already killing the game, right? But yeah, this ship is one of my favorite ships in the game. It's one of the ships that makes me want to play Star Citizen the most. I think it offers way more gameplay than people give it credit for, and now that you can put a nurse on it, I think it's one of the best ships in the game, and it's hard to argue against it. But yeah, that's it. That's my whole list. What ships do you think are amazing ships that should be, considered just because they look cool? That people, maybe a ship that you bought just because you thought it was cool looking, or you bought it for some non-gameplay related reason, or maybe some minor gameplay related reason, but mostly because it was cool. I know the Prowler might be on a few people's lists. What's another one I didn't mention? The Talon. I know a few people that own a Talon just because it's really cool looking. The Blade, the Asperia Blade. Well, is it Asperia? I think it's Asperia Blade. I know a few people who own the Sulian because of that reason. What's another one? The Glaive, a lot of people like. So I know there's some ships out there that people might have in their fleets. The Raven. I mentioned the Raven. Like, I know there's people who paid $600-700 for the Raven just because of how cool that thing looks. And, a lot of it was the rarity as well. But yeah, so let me know what your favorites are in the comments down below. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.